Hey there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. My name is Daniel Trinham, and I will be your host as always. Before we get started with today's episode, I want to let you know of a few things of note. First, you may or may not be aware that I host another podcast called The Third Seat. The Third Seat is unrelated to the podcast you are listening to right now, but if you'd like to check it out, then I will put a link in the description of today's episode that you can use to listen to it. If you like this podcast, then I really think you will like The Third Seat as well, so I highly recommend you check it out. Next, I want to let you know of a few ways you can support the podcast. First, be sure to tell a friend if you enjoy the show. Word of mouth is not only a great way to help support the show, but it's also zero cost. Secondly, if you enjoyed today's episode, then be sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Leaving a positive review is one of the best ways of not only supporting the show, but it also gives me direct feedback from you regarding how you feel about the show overall. I greatly appreciate if you decide to take the time to support the show in any of these ways. Finally, if you'd like to follow me or the show on social media, then feel free to check out the description of today's episode. Here you will find all affiliated and mentioned links, as well as how you can support the show online. As always, I want to thank you for tuning into and supporting the show. It really means a lot to me, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. My name is Daniel Trinham. I will be your host for this episode as always, and I'm really excited to bring you all this episode today. My guest is someone that, from what I've learned about them, they have a standard 9-to-5 job, and they do great work in what they do. But just in the short conversation of what I've had so far in learning about them and getting to know them, I've already seen that they have a lot of personality, a lot of things going on in their life that I'm really excited to learn about, and so I'm really excited about this episode. So Reggie, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So for those that may not be aware, and even just for myself, would you care to just describe a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you have going on in your life?
Okay, we'll do. So I'm Reginald Floyd Smith II, and I am, my day job is I'm the executive director of the Bethlehem Center here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I've been there for about, almost 8.5 years now. So I've been there for a pretty good amount of time. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. Came here in 2004 to go to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Graduated, stuck around.
Go Mocs. Go Mocs.
Go Mocs.
Go Mocs.
Decided to stay again and get a master's degree from there, and stuck around. And now it seems like they can't get rid of me. I'm a professor at UTC.
Oh, really?
I'm on the alumni committee.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I do a lot.
So what do you sorry to interrupt you. What do you teach at UTC?
So I actually teach in the Master's of Public Administration program. I teach human resources management for nonprofit and government systems.
That's awesome. So I didn't even know that. It's funny whenever Amanda that I had spoken with had told me about you and everything. She's initially what she had told me was he works at the Bethlehem Center, but he's got his hands in a lot of different things. And so he's a very interesting individual. I said, all right, well, it sounds like right up my alley. So I'm learning new things already. That's awesome. So how did that come about? I'm curious. Was that something that you wanted to do, or was this just an opportunity that was extended to you?
It was an opportunity really that was extended to me. My background is not in human resources, but I run the Bethlehem Center. As the executive director, I do a lot of human resources stuff. Naturally, I took the class in college, but at the same time, I'm actually a student right now. I'm finishing my PhD. I will be Dr. Smith in December.
Really?
So a few years back, my program coordinator at UTC, the guy who runs the actual program, Dr. Horn, reached out to me and was like, hey, it's a pandemic going on. We're doing, some things are shifting up here. And would you like to teach a class? It's not a lot of stress. It's a hybrid class. And I'm like, no, I don't. But, okay, well, you know what? I'll dip my toe into academia a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't hurt anything.
Yeah.
And naturally, I fell in love with it. I'm not a full-time professor.
Yeah.
And so I only teach one class in the spring, that human resources class. And I promised myself I wouldn't teach more than that one class until I finish this PhD. And then so I don't know what's going to happen when I finish the PhD, but I definitely see myself at UTC a little bit on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't want you to stick around. Are you doing the PhD through UTC?
No, I'm actually it's a university out of Knoxville, Johnson University.
Oh yeah.
And so I graduate when I get finished playing.
Yeah.
And so essentially, I jumped into this PhD program because of they were a regionally accredited PhD that had an online component. And I was like, yeah, shoot, I can knock this out. In between time, I became the executive director at the Beth, and
Had a few things happen.
yeah, and so I took a job, started, having to be the man that runs that, but ended up getting married and had a couple kids, and so I'm having a really great time learning and studying in this dissertation phase, and down to now, my professors were like, "Wait a minute, you write too much. Refocus your thoughts here. Rethink this." I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, I'm having a good time. I'm not really stressed about when I graduate, except for now I'm stressed because I'm like, I can't keep telling people I'm in school when I got to graduate." And so, yeah, I finished this December.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is do you have like an ultimate goal with the PhD now? Because I mean, it sounds like to me you not only have your hands in a lot of things, but you sound to me like someone who, would be a desirable employee or candidate for that. I mean, like you said, you're already, running the Bethlehem Center. You mentioned to me before we started that you've been working in some different businesses as well. It sounds like you've, by all standard, societal norms, like you're doing well, you're successful. You've got things going well for you. What's the next step in your mind with the PhD?
And that's what makes the conversation about the PhD so hard, right? I originally jumped into it thinking, oh, well, all the important people around me, they have these doctorates. And originally I was working in the Hamilton County Department of Education. So, everybody around me had EDDs and PhDs. So I was like, well, I want to be like one of those people. I have to get this extra education. And so now I'm in the program and I'm learning all of this stuff. And I just genuinely enjoy learning. And then I realized it kind of dawned on me, well, once I'm Dr. Smith, it's not like my current job is going to pay me more money because I have it. If I go over to UTC and actually, teach, it's because I actually love working with young people and teaching. So right now it's more of it's an accomplishment that I set out to accomplish, and I want to accomplish it. And it's back to, my dad told me in life, I should always be trying to one up him. Mm-hmm. And then I should always want my son to one up me, right? And so for me, my dad has a master's degree. I'm going to push to get something higher than that, right? But in terms of career wise, I'm blessed to be doing the things that I'm doing, and I'm really happy about that. So I'm not doing the degree for career advancement. I'm more so I like the fact that I've proved to myself that I can accomplish something at that high level.
Yeah, and I kind of love that that's the way you described it, because I'm at a similar point in my life, not in the sense that I'm, taking doctorate level classes or anything, but, there have been things in my personal life where I have, begun asking, like, why am I doing the things I'm doing? Like, obviously I have a day job, but like this podcast, no one's making me do this. This is just something I wanted to do. I recently signed up for a marathon, which I'll be doing in October. And like all of these things, people have asked me like, okay, well, why are you doing these things? And, it's funny because I look at myself and I look at my life and I know that like, if I were to stop doing this, what we're doing right here, right now, if I were to stop doing that, my life would be fine. Things would be normal. I'd go on, work a job and get paid, whatever. If I backed out of the marathon, whatever, my life would still go on. But I'm starting to realize that I enjoy the pursuit of the thing rather than whatever comes afterwards, in a weird way, because I remember kind of on the topic of running, and I don't want to be too much of a broken record on this because I've talked about it a little bit on the show before, but I started running just because I wanted to say that I could run. Like that was it. I was like, I just want to be able to know that I can run a certain distance and do it. And I kind of fell in love with it, like through that process. And so now it's become so much more beneficial because I not only have a goal to chase afterwards, but like you said, you love to learn. So now you have a goal, but also the process of achieving that goal, you love doing it. And so you may not necessarily know what comes afterwards in regards to the PhD, but that's not really the point of it. The point of it is to enjoy the process and to do whatever it is that you set out to do. And so that's really cool. That's inspiring. And I think that that's just really cool. So I commend you for that, man.
Well, thank you. And it's one of those things to where that's exactly the case. I remember somebody told me two things that I kind of live by. My dad, once again, telling me, life is about living. And if living is getting up, going to work, working a 9 to 5, only to go home, take a nap and start all over again, what are you getting out of life? Right. And so, and the other one is, you should have more happy days than sad days. And if what you do makes you happy, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
And so as long as what makes you happy doesn't infringe upon somebody else's life living in pursuit of happiness, right? So that's kind of how I proceed into thinking through, what I do, because I have to wake up every day and have to go through the motions of my, normal existence. I might as well have things in there to make me happy.
Yeah.
And I think that eventually when I do become Dr. Reginald Smith, it's that vanity piece of, oh, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm also, but I'm gonna be the humble doctor who's like, never call me doctor, right? I'm just Reggie. So, but it's the ability to have that to play with is what I'm really loving.
Yeah. And on that note, like, this process, when you cross that stage, get your diploma or whenever they mail it to you, 6 weeks later.
Oh, I'm walking across that stage.
Yeah. Whenever you get your diploma, it will be, for me, I think that it will be such a great experience, I would imagine, for you, because yes, you will have, PhD after your name, Dr. Smith, and, it could potentially open up doors for you in the future. But one of the main benefits, I would imagine, is you've proven to yourself that you can set out to do something above the normal Call of Duty. Getting a PhD is no joke. I mean, in whatever field, whether it's medical or business or whatever, like it's no joke. There's a reason why they don't just hand them out, and so, it could open up doors for you, and it probably will. But that may not be the biggest benefit. It may be the biggest benefit to show you that you can do these things. I mean, if you can accomplish that, well, what's stopping you from doing, task A, B, and C down the road, even if you don't know what that is just yet. And so I love that, man. That's inspiring. And I'll be honest. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
37.
So I am 23 years old, and it's something I'm learning in my life, is the benefit of just doing something rather than, looking for, or not. And let me rephrase my statement. The benefit of doing it, even if you're not perfect at it, doing something, even if you don't have all the answers just yet, even if you don't know necessarily what the next step is going to be. In your case, you mentioned, you want to get this PhD, and it might open up some in the UTC, or it might, further your career at the Bethlehem Center, but who knows? For me, that's incredibly inspiring, because I don't have it all figured out. I mean, like I said, I'm a 23-year-old. I graduated college just 2 or 3 years ago. There's a big wide world out there, and there's a lot of things you can do. And so it can be very intimidating to feel like you have to have all the answers. But knowing that the process of just doing and seeking and learning is probably more beneficial than the actual accomplishment itself, is really, really reassuring and really cool. So that's awesome to see.
It really is. And so I'm gonna give an analogy to that too, that I hope you and your viewers catch here. But do you remember years ago when you was real small as a kid, there was this place called Blockbuster Video?
Oh, there was a Blockbuster in my hometown. I'm very familiar with Blockbuster.
Yes, and you get Blockbuster. All right. So the idea here is that life is kind of like Blockbuster Video. Did you ever remember as a kid going in there and then I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna get that and I'm gonna get this? Mm-hmm. But then you come out with something totally different. I'm going in there to get this movie because I want to see this movie.
Yeah.
But you had a coupon, and you rent 2, you get 1 free, and the stuff you come out of there is totally different. That's life. And when it comes to careers, I mean, you're talking to a guy who in 18 was like, I'm going to West Point, I'm going to Annapolis, I want to be a military officer, and now I run the Beth. Right. I mean, totally different career path. Right. I wanted to be a military officer, and I wanted to, run what they call those things. I wanted to be in the medical service corps, and I wanted to, lead troops in the medical field. Right. No, that didn't happen. I went to UTC. I was in ROTC. I was in ROTC, and I almost became that. But, life's trajectory put me on a path to where I ended up in the school system. I ended up, translating, experience from the school system into, the public sector in a different way. And that, to me now, I feel like I'm the captain of my own ship.
Yeah.
I might not be in that uniform, but I'm doing something different.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, life has a funny way of revealing to you better options for you, better suited for what you can do.
Yeah, and I agree. And so I have a kind of somewhat broad, but I think I imagine hopefully a good transition question. just with everything you have going on in your life right now, you're obviously working at the Beth. You got a PhD going on. And you had mentioned to me before this some different businesses that you had worked on or are currently working on, and I definitely want to ask you about that in a little bit. But just in your life in general right now, what are you most excited about? Just like when you wake up, you got a lot of things going on, but just like what for you is the thing that excites you the most, whether it's a big project or maybe it's your daily job, just whatever it is. What is it for you that just excites you every day when you get up?
So the most exciting thing that excites me right now is that when I wake up, it's 4 people in my bed.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy as that sounds, right? And so I'm blessed to have convinced a beautiful young lady 5 years ago to marry me. What that is translated into is I have an 18-month-old son.
I thought you were about to say 18 kids for a second. I was
no.
Okay, wow, you've been you've been busy.
No, I have an 18-month-old son and a 5-month-old daughter.
I love it. That's awesome.
And as of right now, it's like, I don't know. I guess I didn't do the right thing. I had to transition the son out of my bed and sleeping into his own crib. But he's every night like, no, I'm not going to sleep unless I'm next to y'all. Yeah. And then, of course, the 5-month-old, she's brand new. So she's with my wife all night, nursing and everything. But they give me the greatest joy. And it has also really, truly transitioned my mindset. It used to be, as if I ever write a book about my life, I have the different phases of my life. I remember when I was your age in the 20s, right? I was in the get it phase of life. Get whatever it is that I want to get. Get this, get that, get her, get this, get them. Now it's more of okay. My life revolves around ensuring they have what they need. Right. And so it's really, really cool. So I go to work every day thinking, great, I'm here. Yes, I'm supposed to serve my community and support everybody else's children and help everybody else. And I earned the privilege to go home to my children when I've done the great job. Yeah. So that's what gives me my greatest joy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I do want to ask you this now because I've asked this to some people, and you're a relatively new father now, and I'm not a parent. And so from someone who is not a parent to someone who's a new parent, how for you has fatherhood just changed your life in general? Has it impacted you in ways that you weren't ready for or weren't expecting, I guess I should say, aside from just, knowing that you're a father and that you have more mouths to feed and that you're responsible for other people? Has it impacted your life in ways that you weren't anticipating necessarily?
In every aspect whatsoever. And like I said, I just told you, I was in the get it phase. I'm like, right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to jump on the plane and travel here. Everything now requires consideration of the other. And when I say the other, I mean my kids and my wife, right? So no longer can I play the game of, okay, great, I got a Delta Sky Miles credit card. I get my Sky Miles. I'm flying everywhere I want to go for free. No, I'm taking them with me, and they require another ticket too. And the Sky Miles don't travel that much, right? Or they're sitting in my lap and they don't have a plane ticket, but I mean, I'm locked down with a kid in my lap the whole flight. But I love every bit of it. But yes, no, everything is different. Different considerations, right? I use planes because I travel a lot, and I've been fortunate enough to travel with my really tiny children to some wonderful places. I'm actually getting on a plane Friday and heading to St. Lucia. So
where I've heard that name. Where is that at?
So St. Lucia is in the Caribbean. It's one of the southernmost islands. It's directly south of Barbados. No, it's directly north of Barbados. Yeah, and it's going to be really, really cool.
Is that going to be a vacation spot, or is it?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. A friend of mine decided he wanted to get married after he's been married for 3 years. Pandemic marriage type of deal, right? Yeah. And so we're going down to St. Lucia. But it's a military operation to get a kid, with their passport. Meanwhile, they can't even hold their passport, right? On a plane. But my wife is packing everything. I came home, was a box that it was made by Jeep, but it was a beach wagon. And I'm like, how are we supposed to get that there? Are we going to put that in the checked luggage? It's something like we got to carry all this stuff to the airport. Yeah. Like, what's going on? But everything requires more of me, right? So, in terms of, ensuring, even out of my health, like I'm sitting here listening to you saying that you're getting ready to run a marathon. I'm preparing to run a 5K with my staff at work. Because two reasons. The organizational reason is, we want to be more involved in the community. So we're going to go support another nonprofit, the Ronald McDonald Run for Kids, right? The other side reason is that I need to get my butt up and I need to be more active because I am an old parent. I was 37 years old with my first, I was 36 years old with my first kid.
Yeah.
Now, I need to really truly refocus my attention toward ensuring I'm healthy. So I need to run a 5K because that's a good way to get back in shape, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm doing that because I look at these children and realize I got to be there for them.
Yeah.
And so everything, even down to the food that I eat now, to the conversations I'm having with my personal, physicians and doctors, how do I make sure and ensure that I'm healthy enough to be able to raise them for the next 25 years so that 25 years from now I can say, great, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can go and be great.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I think through that are, really, really important as a new father, because I have to, make sure I'm there for them, but make sure that I'm mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared to be an effective, loving, supportive father for them.
It's cool. I love the way, well, first thing, you described your experience preparing for going down to St. Lucia as a military operation. And my first thought, the reason I laughed when you said military operation, my first thought was, oh, his friend is like in the military or something, and they're going and like getting married on a military base or something. And then you described it as a military operation, and I gotta get a good laugh out of that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I got TD&E and logistics, right? I mean, this is how do we get from this point to that point in this period of time safely, right?
Yeah,
no, it's an operation.
That's pretty funny. But it's funny, I have had the privilege of speaking with a couple different people on the show, and some of them have become, in that time have become new parents. One of the guys I spoke to, I'm fairly certain he had his first child, and it may have recently turned one. I forget, but neither here nor there. It was cool to see how, like you said, everything they do now is centered around what they can do for their family. And, on the outside looking in, that may sound a little weird because it's like, do I want to center my life around this? But as I'm getting older, and again, I don't have kids of my own, but as I'm getting older, I'm beginning to understand that sentiment a little bit more, because intuitively I know it, but experientially, one of the biggest times I ever realized, like I'd begun to feel and experience the fact that the things that I do and the actions I take on a daily basis is bigger than just me, was my college graduation. And the reason why it hit me so hard, for whatever reason, was, we were at UTC, and we were, down in the middle where the court normally is. They got everybody up on stage, and we had went and got our diplomas and everything. And we go back to our seats, and whoever it was came out and started speaking again, and they asked for all the families and everybody in the stadium to stand up and give a standing ovation. And it was just cool because I recognized that, yes, I was the one in the classroom doing the things and, writing the reports and so on and so forth. But if it wasn't for those people in that crowd, parents, family members, friends, so on, I wouldn't have been there, because there was a lot of things they did for me behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of, or I knew of, but I didn't realize the extent to what they had done. And yes, like I said, I was the one in the class doing the things, but that's only a part of it. And it hit me like, this thing we call life is more than just the things I do for myself. Yes, I need to take care of myself and, focus on being the best version of myself that I can be. But kind of what you just, you talked about a little bit, the things we do are not just confined to ourself. And I think that's somewhat of a kind of a beautiful realization to come to, because for me, there have been a lot of ups and downs in my life in the past couple of years, but the more I accept the reality that my life is not just about myself, the better it becomes in a way. It's a lot more fulfilling. And so I totally resonate with that in kind of a little bit of a different way,
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. That's real.
That's awesome. Something I do want to ask you about now that you mentioned it at the beginning. So tell me a little bit about what you had before we started. You had mentioned some different kind of businesses you had been or are currently working on here in the Chattanooga community. Just tell me about those, if you don't mind. I'm curious to learn a little bit about them.
So my friends and I, we kind of consider ourselves like the unsurprising, right, serial entrepreneurs in different veins. So side note, I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, came here to go to school. My friend network was literally people I went to college with, members of my fraternity. we were all sitting down one day and realized, why is it that people like me leave Chattanooga? If you get a good job here, why would you, if you have a good job, decide to leave? And we feel, I guess at the time we felt our social lives kind of were, only the people in our orbit. And so we were trying to figure out, what do we need to do to break outside of our own orbit or bring other people into our orbit? Like, what's going on? So what we identified was, as an African-American man, in Chattanooga, there are pockets of Black people. There's Black people here, right? But what do we need to do to kind of connect the African-American community with the greater world in which we're in? All right, I'm an executive director of a nonprofit. My other friend is an engineer at TVA. My other friend and frat brother, he works in, he was a police officer at the time. We had all these different friends that are doing the various different things. I have another one that works in social media and works in nonprofits. We were figuring out ways to where, how do we enlighten African Americans about all the wonderful things happening in Chattanooga to stay in Chattanooga. So we created an organization called Noir Nougat. Noir simply being Black, Nougat's slang for Chattanooga, right?
Yeah.
And the logic was that if we actually were able to curate events to where we connect African Americans with the greater city of Chattanooga, connect them with the wonderful things going on downtown, connect with the people that's doing the wonderful stuff at the Hunter Museum with Black professionals at the Hunter, connect that professional class of people together to be able to do, real cool things that historically maybe African Americans wouldn't branch out to do. We're in a wonderful scenic city of Chattanooga, but how many people actually, go rock climbing? A lot of people, but how many African Americans do? Why don't we push people toward that direction? And that's where we pretty much started. We found restaurants that were willing to allow us to come in and bring, specially curated events to their space. And everything was working really, really great until the pandemic happened. So we had to re-strategize, like most companies. And because of that, we started taking a look at, well, what different types of entrepreneurial endeavors could Noir Nougat, help support? It wasn't necessarily about us being a business to be, to make money, right? We actually took the wrong approach to doing it, right? We looked at how can we help small businesses, successfully survive. So what Noir Nougat really truly is a small Black media company. We want to support people who we know don't have marketing budgets. We help them with their social media. We help them get in front of audiences that they truly want to be in front of, but don't really know how to do. And what that has ventured into is truly allowing us to connect with local small restaurants, local small other Black businesses, and really truly push them to be in front of different audiences. And we've been really successful with that. One group that we connected with was kind of the Black artist community in town. We have a wonderful artist community, Black, white, Latino, everybody in town. Well, I met this young lady. She told me she was a starving artist. Okay, me, the public administrator. It might resonate with me.
Put on your master's degree hat on for just a second.
Yeah, I'm like, well, if you're a starving artist, explain that concept to me. And so she explained, well, I paint my paintings, then I sell them, and then I have to go make another painting and I sell it again, but it might be a while before I sell it. So I was like, well, that's very unsustainable. I can help you with that. So my friends and I, we created a, kind of under the Noir Nougat moniker, an organization called Three Bridges Apparel. Simply put, we take local artists' artwork, we put it on apparel, and we sell it. It's just that simple.
Nice.
Which means the artist gets to sell it over and over and over and over again. And if the artist is actually, pushing their artwork through that separate, different medium, they're able to make a pretty lucrative, residual income off of it. And then we just kind of set up the back end and it worked out really, really well for us as well. And that allows us to fund the fun stuff we want to do, like creating of the excursions to where we can go, take, people interested in connecting with the greater city of Chattanooga, white water rafting and canoeing and, playing airsoft or something, like random stuff like that, going to cool restaurants that they've never been to before. Yeah. And then lastly, we created, under the same vein, Even Odds Digital, coming out of the need to support individuals on the marketing side of things. We have a production house to where we can, create, small commercials for people that we can run on Instagram or Facebook or, help them with creating their own podcast and actually recording the podcast for them and things of that nature. And so, yeah, we're kind of all over the place, and it's because it's fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. The first thing going through my head is I need to get you in touch with somebody. You probably already know him. Does the name I'm probably going to butcher this, but does the name Moise Baptiste ring? Does that sound familiar to you at all?
Moise Baptiste, Dr. Baptiste.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so he's a friend of mine.
I was about to say, I was like, I need to get you in touch with him.
And so actually, he has Trailblaze Us Outdoors.
Yes.
And Trailblaze Us Outdoors is who we partner with when we go rock climbing.
Yeah.
He'll be the first to tell you, man, we went out here with Noah Nuga. We went to, we went whitewater rafting up on the Ocoee.
Yeah.
And man, he had a GoPro on his head, and we were going to have all this great footage. Yeah, all of us ended up outside the boat.
Yeah.
And we lost the GoPro. Dog, Moise he's a friend. He's actually planning a wonderful trip to Africa. I don't know if they're going to be able to go this year or if it's next year or when it is. Yeah. But I'm finishing this PhD, so I can't go. And I got these 2 little kids, and I can't take them with me right now to there. But yeah, we're all about that type of stuff. And we're going to connect with him to do some other stuff. They have this Black Ski Weekend thing that's taking place in Gatlinburg. So for some of us that have been skiing in other places, we don't really know about Gatlinburg for skiing, but we would love to take a bus trip there. And the whole purpose of this, when we say, it's Black Ski Weekend, well, it's Chattanooga. We're not trying to say, well, only do Black people. What we're really trying to get is Black people outside of their shell to do different things. We want to connect with everybody. So if any of your listeners want to show up to Gatlinburg with us and on a bus trip, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a big, party. It's a really, really good chance for Chattanoogans to really have a good time and be together and go skiing.
Yeah, well, it's cool because the reason I bring him up is, I could tell that if you didn't know him, I was like, you all seem like you would get along very easily. But I actually had the privilege of meeting with Dr. Mo and speaking with him before and doing an interview with him, and he was just just a great guy. But just his excitement and the way he described what he did was really interesting to me because I'm not originally from Chattanooga. I'm from an hour up the road. You know where Athens, Tennessee is? Okay, so I'm around Athens. The town I'm from is a very, very small town. We famously have one stoplight, about 1,000 people. It's a tiny little, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah,
it's a tiny little town. Yeah. And so, but it's funny, like you mentioned the Ocoee. I mean, I grew up right next to it. I mean, I'm a county away from it. We would go. I've been to it many times. I live at the foot of the mountains. I mean, that's what I grew up around. I've always spent time in the outdoors and going and doing things out there and going on hikes and going swimming. And so whenever I initially spoke with him, I was curious just because the way when I learned about him, I was curious about him just because his business seemed just very interesting to me. It was like, we're just taking people outside. And I was like, you can do that. Like, what is it about why are you doing it in this manner? And when I spoke with him, it was really cool for him to explain it to me the way that he did, because like I said, I grew up in a very small town, predominantly Caucasian town. And coming here to Chattanooga, I didn't as silly as it sounds, I didn't realize that one, people that live here in the city don't have those same experiences, but two, as you mentioned, there are predominant, working class communities of African Americans and Latinos and people of all different creeds and colors that also do not get to experience these things as much as, I was fortunately able to where I grew up. And so it opened me up to the fact that people don't get to have this benefit. And we live in here in Chattanooga, it's kind of known as like the city where you can go hiking and rafting and stuff, but like it's right here. But if you're not aware of how close it is to you, as silly as it sounds, you may never go and experience those things. And it really can change your life, just being out in the world and seeing the beauty of the world around us. It's really cool. So I'm glad to hear that you're a part of that. That's awesome. That's really cool and really, really cool to hear.
And what's really unique about that, because that goes back, kind of segue back into what I do at the Bethlehem Center. So a lot of the children that I serve, unfortunately, grow up in poverty, right? But they live at the base of Lookout Mountain, so you take a really good look at the demographics or the economics rather of probably one of the most affluent zip codes in our region, and literally the poorest zip code in our region. And they live at the base of a mountain, and most of those children, I'm gonna say 90% of them, have never been on top of that mountain to actually see the view of Chattanooga from that height. That's a big deal. You have people who live in the city who've never been on the Tennessee River. They may have driven over it, Possibly, but we're even tracking data that shows children who live within a certain zip code that we serve, they have not been to the mall. I mean, that's
like out in Hamilton Place?
Yeah, they've not been to the mall, right? I remember when I was in the school system, we took a group of children to Washington, D.C. And when we took them to Washington, D.C., they were so eager to learn and see so much because they had literally never left town. So now we fast forward that to adults. Okay, most adults are set in their ways. I'm a black guy from Memphis, Tennessee, right? We have a river in Memphis. It's called the Mississippi River. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have briefly. I've driven over it. Yes.
You ain't getting out of canoeing, kayaking, and paddleboarding on it. So when I came here and saw people paddleboarding on the Tennessee River, I'm perplexed. I didn't quite understand what they're doing. Like, do they have a death wish? Did they not know of riptides? Right? These are the things that I'm reconciling because I know what a river is. I'm highly intelligent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a PhD one day. But it took me to befriend people who were different than me for them to tell me, no, this is a good river. That's a dirty river, right? You don't get on that one.
Yeah.
But this one, you can do these things. And it took me to take a class to learn, oh, this is what you do. This is how it works. Shout out to UTC and all their HHP stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But even down to hiking, signal point and all that, it's intimidating if you've never been hiking to know how to hike.
Yeah.
So you have to get with somebody like Mo who shows you this is what you do. Don't come out here wearing your Jordans. Throw on some old beat up tennis shoes, get you some good New Balances or some hiking shoes.
Yeah.
And come out here on these trails.
Yeah.
Now it's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. So when you think about populations of people and, it is not just, the black or the Latino, it's a lot of people who just, if you're a city dweller, you don't do outside in the country. Mm-hmm. If you're from the country, there's a whole lot of stuff you don't do in the city. So, how do we bridge that gap but bring everybody together to where, we're experiencing new experiences together and doing, like we said earlier, right? Experiencing life for what life is meant to be, which is lived.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's exciting. And it's cool from my perspective, just because I've been fortunate enough to kind of live on both extremes. Like I said, I come from a very, very, very small town. I'll hear people sometimes be like, I'll meet them and they'll be like, yeah, I'm from a small town in East Tennessee. I'm like, oh, where? And like, you ever heard of Chattanooga? I'm like, no, you haven't seen small. If you think this is a small town, you haven't seen it just yet, So, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to see kind of the both extremes. I know there's bigger cities in Chattanooga, of course, but it's really interesting to see, like you said, if you live in the country, the city seems very intimidating, big buildings and stuff, and like people cram together. It's like, what's going on? I feel very fortunate to be able to have seen kind of both poles of it, and so that's really cool. I'm glad that I'm very glad that you know Mo and just what he's going on, because I really think what he's doing is important, but it's very unique as well. Like, I've never heard of someone starting a company like that that's designed to bring communities that aren't, as privy to the outdoors and just take them outdoors. Whenever it was funny, the first time I ever spoke with him, it was over a Zoom call, and I was just talking with him to see if he'd be interested in doing an interview. And he was like over in Kenya, and he was like, "Hey, can you hear me okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I can hear you." And he said, "Okay, good. I'm over here in Kenya right now. And I don't know if I have great internet connection." I was like, "What are you doing in Kenya?" I was like, I wasn't anticipating you being that far over there. So it was cool seeing someone as passionate about something that seems so simple, but is so profound. It has such a profound impact on the people's lives,
Right. And you brought up a good point too, with him being over there and doing all that. And I'm going to encourage you to do this. So like you say, you showed me extremes of, the Chattanooga versus your hometown. I was fortunate enough, now at the Beth, I took some students to Chicago, and the conversations that I had with my Chattanooga students about Chicago, because they were just like, oh, what in the world, what is this? This place is huge. What is this? Skyscrapers, why does Chattanooga have skyscrapers? No, the question was, why aren't Chattanooga skyscrapers as tall? And I was explaining, because Chattanooga don't have skyscrapers. Right? We might have a few tall buildings, right?
Yeah.
But, to that same vein, travel does that. And so like, while you are young and you're able to experience things and you're still developing how you see the world, get out of the country, see different things. Because by doing that, one, it gives you a great appreciation for our own country that we live in, but it also shows you, what, over here is cool. It's something different. And when you experience different cultures and eat different cuisine and go different places, it really truly opens your mind. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's my big experience thing for children now. How do I get children to experience that, right? But in my own personal life, I've been blessed to travel extensively outside of the country. And I remember I had no desire whatsoever. It was only like 2 European countries that I really wanted to go to. Like, Europe seems cold. I don't want to go there. Right. I'm like, I want to go to Rome because I want to see the Vatican.
Yeah.
I want to
yeah.
do, the Rome thing.
Yeah. When in Rome. You know.
When in Rome.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then it was, I wanted to go there and I wanted to go to Paris.
Yeah.
And so I've been to Paris, but I haven't been to Rome yet. But it took me to go to London and go to England. I went to Bath and I went to went to Stonehenge and went to all these different places in the UK. And I was like, oh my God, it's a lot out there that as much as I think I know, and as much as I think that I understand, I just don't.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I realize, they equally are interested in meeting Americans because they want to, try to reconcile what they think versus what the television says, right? Versus when you meet me as a person, it's like, because we speak English, but we don't speak English, right? We eat food, but we don't eat British type of food.
Yeah.
And you go to Paris, it's a totally different thing, right? You travel in South America or the Caribbean or my favorite country, Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to experience peace, go to Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as fortunate as Mo. I haven't been to Kenya yet. I haven't been to Africa. I'm trying to make my way to that continent. But by going out of the country, the same way you reconciled, being able to experience the wonderful things you were able to experience growing up, and then coming to the city and being able to experience, the Chattanooga city life. Yeah, spend time other places, and it will definitely. It goes back to show you how vast and how great God's world is because you're able to see, and experience so many cool things and meet so many new people, and it's just a really cool thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because, so funny enough, I'm getting married in July.
Good. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I'm getting married in July and I'm actually going honeymooning in Paris. So, now just on a selfish note, I want to ask, what are some things I should know before I go over there?
Okay.
Aside from like see the Eiffel Tower and go to the Louvre, or maybe don't, I don't know. What's your expert opinion?
I believe they're closed on Tuesdays, so don't show up on a Tuesday. Mistake. Yeah, the Louvre was. Yeah, we were like, yeah, we're going to the Louvre. They're like, no, we closed. I'm like, what? So check the date. I might be wrong. It might be Monday. I don't know. It was whatever day we were going to go there. They were closed.
Yeah.
It's be prepared to be underwhelmed.
Be underwhelmed.
I mean, okay, excuse me. No, be prepared to be.
Hey, you can give me the harsh truth.
It's
okay.
dirty. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's like you've now, and it's one of those places where depending on how much money you're spending, you're gonna have a different type of experience.
Yeah.
We literally threw that in last minute because we were like, let's take the Eurostar. That's the next thing. If you're going to Paris, depending on how long you're there, you can take the Eurostar and see any other European country within that range that you want to. I highly recommend you do that. Eurostar has it's a train. It's a high speed rail train, but we went from London to Paris. Yeah, you go under the English Channel. That's the only reason I want to do it. I'm like,
you want to go under the
English
channel?
Yeah. And of course I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. The hotel we stayed at was wonderful. There was no air conditioning.
That is one thing that I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for because I know that the climate's different over there. So there's a reason why like a lot of the buildings are old. So like I understand, not everybody over there is just burning up to death. But I am
you don't need it. It wasn't really like hot. I think we went in June.
Yeah,
we went in June
of
2018, and it was okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Notre Dame, it caught on fire.
Yeah. Were you there when that happened?
No, it happened. I think a year or two after we left. It happened. I think in 2020 it caught on fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bad year for everything. In 2020, but it's cool. The food is great. Just know what you're ordering.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. We've I've made some. That's been kind of my job so far at the current wedding and honeymooning planning process is getting reservations and stuff. So I've been like looking into restaurants and seeing what all we want to go and try out. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I wasn't a fan. I'm a fan of getting on foot and walking.
Yes.
I do recommend you get on the big red bus. See everything first.
Yeah.
Then, okay, cool. We're because that gives you a good overview of everything.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it. My wife, if she's listening to this, she's gonna be like, "Yep, Daddy Reggie messing that up too." But Champs-Élysées, that thing.
Yes.
Where all the shops are.
Yes.
Yeah, hide your credit card from your wife.
Yeah. It's like Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Champs-Élysées.
Yeah.
Where you have all the high-end fashion houses
Yes.
and all that stuff that, it's expensive. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
Might be cheaper now. I think it's some parity going on with the US dollar and the euro. So you might look up. But no, but it was really, really nice. They are rude.
Oh, really?
Yes. They're
Interesting.
rude.
I didn't know that.
They act like they don't speak English. Until you start talking. Like I remember one funny moment. We went to this little place and we were eating, and they act like they didn't know what we were saying until we at the table got to arguing with, it's rude to tip in France, so don't leave a tip. The man said, "No, you can tip here. You can tip." All of a sudden, he spoke English then, and so we just thought that was real funny. But I know Paris is a really beautiful place, and like I said, I wanted to get to Paris.
Yeah.
Get outside of the city of Paris and go to some of the other places.
We're planning on so we'll be there for about a week. Initially, we had thought about spending part of the time in Paris and part of the time in London. We ultimately decided just to stay in Paris just because we'll be traveling a day over and we want to just not to have to go too much. But I've already promised I will be making a trip to London at some point because I'm not gonna almost do it and then never do it ever again.
So you're already over there.
Yeah.
I think it was 39 euros each way. Mm-hmm. You get on the train. I'm gonna give you a hotel to stay at because once again, hotels are different in London. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're gonna get this, wonderful suite. You're not, unless you stay at certain places. And I hope they're still open now. But there was a hotel there. I forgot the name of the hotel. I'm gonna have to call you back about it. But it was really, really great. We stayed there for one night because there was a problem with our reservation in the middle of our vacation, right? We had every day reserved except for this one day in the middle, and we were like, "What do you mean? We got here to here, but not here to here." But it was really, really the Ecclesian is the name of the hotel, and the building is so. What you'll find is a lot of old buildings that have been retrofitted to fit other purposes now, and a lot of buildings have basements, and like a basement is like a subfloor where you can take the elevator down and the hotel rooms in the basement. Really weird, freaked me out, but it was real nice. But the building we were in was actually Winston Churchill's home during World War II. Wow. And so that was like really, really cool. So
That's
it's like
cool.
This row house type of deal. The building, one of the units was his home. Yeah. The hotel was in the building, in the unit next to it. And it was like really great. Wow. It was the Ecclesian. My first time on one of those adjustable base beds. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the one that I called it the fold you up 5,000. And it had a vibrate feature and it was the 3D TV. It was really, really nice. Yeah. Don't expect that at all the hotels. But, find, and if you can, get something in, get a hotel around the Piccadilly Square or Piccadilly Circus area, because that's where all the action is happening. Any Broadway play you want to see, you can see it over there for a whole lot cheaper. Really? Yeah. I mean, in London, we kicking myself because I'm a big fan of Hamilton, and I was like,
they're coming to the Tivoli. I heard like next year or the year after.
I heard. Yeah, I will be in there singing all the songs. But while we were in London, it was like tickets were like $6 or €6. I mean, it was cheap. It was cheap. It was, of course, the London cast, so nobody cared. Yeah, and this was 2018 before it became super, super popular and super.
It really blew up in 2020 when everybody had nothing but time.
And Disney remade the movie. Or Disney filmed it. But the thing about it was that there were all these. I mean, they had Chicago, they had Cats. I don't know about Cats. It was some other one, the big name one. But they're all there and they're cheaper. Definitely go to the museums. Like I said, as much as I was so happy to go to Paris, London was the spot. We went to the British Museum. That's what it's called, the British Museum. Yeah. We came up with what are the British really known for? And the only thing me and my wife could walk away with is stealing everybody else's stuff.
Other people's stuff.
They stole everything. The sun didn't set on the British Empire, and the whole time they were taking everything and bringing it back to London.
I saw something the other day, and it said why are the pyramids still in Egypt? And it said because they're too heavy to move to one of the British museums.
That is, and you will see that.
I thought, honestly, if they were, if you could pick them up and move them, they would probably be in a museum somewhere.
I mean, the amount of coffins or sarcophagus from Egypt, but they got some of everybody. It's like Roman people, the mummified Romans. I mean, they got some of everything in there. They was like brought it back.
That's crazy.
Way. But I will definitely, like I said, I like military history and things. I would definitely tell you to see the changing of the guard. But I was the type of person who I watched all the YouTube videos so I would know what was going on. I knew the cadences. I knew why they did what they did. To see the Changing of the Guard in person to me was life-changing. And I've been to Arlington National Cemetery and seen ours, but to see the British, the Grenadier Guards do their thing, but to go to the Grenadier Guards Museum, it was also a life-changing event for me because you get to read and see in person their perspective on the Revolutionary War.
Really?
Because think about, as Americans, we we know exactly what happened.
We kind of flex our muscles, when it comes to Revolutionary War.
Yeah, because, hey, we decided to come over here and we threw the Tea Party, Boston Tea Party, and, we kicked them people out of our country.
I literally just this past week got back from vacation in Boston, and they're very proud of the Revolutionary War up there. Let me tell you, they're very proud of it.
Go to London's War Museum and listen to their story. They're like, we've sent over battalions of troops to squash the rebellion in the rebellion states in America.
Yeah.
And we got tired of fighting them, so we left. That's literally the way they see it. And it was like, we didn't lose the war. We just got tired we let them have that little experiment. And now they're America, our greatest ally and friend.
That is hilarious.
And so to reconcile the two histories was cool. But by all means, I hope you enjoy yourself on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
But if you can't go there, if you can convince your wife to go to any of those other places.
Yes.
I mean, you got Germany right there.
Mm-hmm.
You got Amsterdam right there. I live by the motto right now. If I don't know when the next time I'm gonna be able to come through here, so I'm gonna enjoy as much as I can.
Yeah.
You're on a honeymoon, so enjoy your wife.
Yes.
But you really don't need to do too much sleeping. Y'all just need to be on the go. You need to see, you need to build those memories.
Mm-hmm. That's something I'm really excited for. Something we do have planned that's outside of the city is we're going to Versailles, the palace.
Yes.
And I'm
Good.
very, very excited about that.
It's beautiful.
We had talked about potentially going, because I'm also, I really enjoy military history a lot. We had talked about going and trying to make the trip out to Normandy, and we could, but we still could, but we need to, it'll be more than just a, trip out and trip back. It's a pretty hefty trip all the way out there, to the D-Day Memorial and everything. But I'm really, really excited for it. I've been out of the country before, but I've never been to Europe, and so I'm very excited to go and see what all's over there and see what's going on.
Definitely go see and enjoy yourself.
That's awesome. I'm excited for it. Well, before we start to finish up, I just want to first say thank you just for coming in. It's been a delightful conversation. A lot of the best conversations I've had the privilege of having are ones where I will come in and I'll have these different questions that I'm ready to, ask and say, and we start talking and it goes a completely different direction, but in a good way. And I'm thank you for that, because I love just learning on the spot and hearing people's stories and hearing what they have to say and kind of being surprised and getting to learn about, the guest every single time. So thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure so far.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Before we finish, kind of a tradition with the show, something I like to do. I like to finish each interview off with a little segment I call 15 quick questions. And so, if you don't mind, I want to ask you 15 quick questions. They'll be this or that questions. And so these are totally unrelated to everything we've been talking about so far. But I just want to hear your thoughts, on these questions and get your thoughts on all these different things. So that sound good to you?
Sounds great to me. Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is 15 quick questions. First question: beach vacation or mountain vacation?
Ooh, depending on who you ask. If you ask me and my wife, I'm going to say,
if it's just you deciding,
me deciding,
yeah,
I'm gonna say mountains.
Nice. So now I'm curious. Are you particular to Rocky Mountains, Appalachian Mountains?
No, I'm getting out the country. I'm going to the coast.
Going to totally different country.
Some volcanic mountains in the Monte Verde, what is the Arenal volcano region. So
I love it. That's awesome. All right, which do you prefer, hot coffee or iced coffee? Hot coffee. Me too. My fiance gives me a hard time. She claims I have like a leather tongue or something, because I'll just like get piping hot coffee and blow it a couple times and then just go to town on it, and that's just, I don't know, that's just the way I am. So
I can't do the iced coffee. I'm not made that way.
That's funny. Which season do you prefer, summer, fall, winter, or spring?
I'm going to be real with you. Fall.
I'm a big fall fan.
And I think it's wardrobe based.
Yes.
Fall and winter, I get
You're
to
speaking my language.
Yeah, I get to, you pop the peacoats and with the scarf.
Yeah.
I'm partial to turtlenecks now.
Yes.
I'm
a big fall and winter guy. I always have been. Even though I'm not in school anymore, I loved snow days when I was younger. I mean, it's just everything about it is you're speaking my language. All right, which do you prefer, sweet or savory food? If you had to pick one right now.
Unfortunately, sweet. I see why I got to get myself back running again.
I'm right there with you. So I understand. In your opinion, are Crocs fashionable? Yes or no? No, not at all.
Never.
You never owned a pair before?
No,
Not even like a pair with like the fur lining on the inside?
never. Now, my wife will tell you if I'm running outside, I'm gonna throw on hers right quick and take out the garbage.
Is she a big Crocs fan?
She's not a big Crocs fan, but she owns a pair or two.
I gotcha. All right. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Yes or no?
No.
Man, I'm a big pineapple on pizza fan. That hurts me. That hurts my soul. Hurts who I am. I love pineapple. I've never tried any other fruits on pizza though, so I don't know how that one fruit made it on, but I'm a big fan of it.
But I will tell you this: so as I've aged, my taste buds have changed, and I bought a smoker. I bought one of those pellet smokers.
Oh,
I'm one of those guys, and so I put a whole pineapple out there on the smoker and just let it smoke.
Really?
And then sprayed it with brown sugar water while it was smoking. Oh, it came out delicious. Does not belong on pizza, but I'll make a brisket next to it. So I'll smoke a brisket with some pineapple close by. It's different.
I love that. All right. Which do you prefer, sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Me too. I'm a sunrise
if
guy.
I'm up to watch it.
Yes. Guacamole or salsa?
Salsa.
Nice. Which would you rather play, a card game or a board game?
Board game.
Nice. I'm a big board game guy.
Yeah, except for Monopoly. You cannot play Monopoly amongst my friends.
I love Monopoly. I have the game on my phone. I play it in my free time.
So I have a very highly competitive group of friends.
Yes.
And it after Monopoly, my friends don't talk to each other for a week. We have a standing rule in what they used to call the frat house. When I bought my first house, I was in graduate school, and my friends were always at the house. And people have flipped over Monopoly boards in my house. We don't talk about Bruno.
It's a heartbreaking game. It really is. All right, which do you prefer, crunchy peanut butter or smooth?
Smooth.
Ooh, I'm a crunchy guy. All right, which would you rather read the book or see the movie?
You know what? Okay, so I will say I used to be see the movie until because I've seen pretty much all of the Tom Clancy movies, but I got into reading the books, and oh my God, the level of detail! Like all my life, I've been hearing people, the book has more detail.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm not going to read the 17 billion pages. Oh my God, Tom Clancy.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know who decided to leave this out the movie.
Yeah.
Like, so unfortunately, now I am the book guy.
Hey, listen, I'm also the book guy, so I'm right there with you. All right, in your opinion, who wins in a dance battle, The Rock or Kevin Hart?
It depends on what the metrics are. So let me get PhD here. Depends on what the metrics are. If I'm going for technicality, I'll probably say The Rock. If I'm going for hilariousness, it's definitely going to be Kevin Hart because that man can't dance. But
you don't think he's like agile? I mean, he's a shorter guy. You don't think he can kind of get around real easily? You know?
Yeah, but we wouldn't be, like I said, it depends on the metrics that I'm great.
The metrics.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, which decade do you prefer, the 70s, 80s, or 90s?
See, I was born in '86, so I'm gonna have to go with, man. The '90s was so dang cool. They had the best music, the best food, because it was my childhood. I was 4 in 1990, so I'm like, well, did I really grow up in the '80s?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We had Super Soakers. I had GI Joes. I still collect GI Joes to this day. Today what is it? Gojo June. Hasbro just came out with a brand new GI Joe helicopter. I'm buying that thing. I'm gonna say the '90s for me.
I love
the
it.
GI Joes of the '80s and '90s, so I'm gonna go with Joe.
I love it. That's awesome. Last two questions of the kind of final 4 holidays of the year. Which do you prefer, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's? These are my favorite. These are my favorite holidays. That's all I'm asking.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's. So it's rough for me right now. Let me explain why. I know I'm just killing your time.
No, I'm enjoying this. This is fine.
My son was born in November before Thanksgiving. Right? So he was born on the 9th. Okay. My daughter was born on New Year's Eve. My wife was born on December 11th.
I'm seeing the trend.
Yeah. So Christmas is great, but it's something about Thanksgiving because once again, I need to get in the gym and I need to start running. The food on Thanksgiving is always wonderful, and I'm missing it because now I'm married with 2 kids and a wife, so I'm stuck here. I can't go home.
Yeah.
Because I had to bring my home here. I had to bring my parents and grandparents, people here. So I'm gonna go with Thanksgiving. Christmas is great, but I will say, as an adult, Christmas becomes more of it's for them.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I can say that I enjoy doing it for them.
Yeah.
But it's not like when I was a kid and, get the toys.
Yeah. I understand.
Thanksgiving for me.
I love it. And then final question. I usually kind of change up the first 14, but I always ask this question of the final question of each of my guests. I want to hear your answer and your kind of rationale behind your answer as well. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? So you got 100 small horses, 1 really, really big duck. Which would you rather go tussle with?
Yes, so I would definitely be the 100 duck-sized horses.
Okay, so what's your thinking here?
I done seen a lot of. I never did it, but I've seen a lot of punters punt and a lot of kickers on the football field kick, and I feel ducks are vicious.
They are, yes.
And so to have a big duck that's the size of a horse. I mean, not too much you can do about that thing. And that big bill there, ducks are vicious, right? Yeah. Now, the other ones, I can kick them all day long.
You think so?
Yeah.
Even if there's 100 of them?
If it's 100, I'll get tired. But I mean, okay, let's see. A duck. Duck is a small animal. I mean, the size of a chihuahua. I mean, it's a lot of ducks to kick. But
yeah.
I mean, a lot of horses to kick. Yeah. That's the next thing. They're not ducks. They're horses.
Yeah.
So what's the worst he could do? Kick me with his back foot.
They could like stampede you. I mean, they could all like collectively, unify their forces and come at you.
That's a whole lot. You're right. Stampede. I didn't even think about that. So I need to be. Yeah, it depends. I mean,
you gotta be shifty. If this is the way you're gonna go, you gotta be shifty with it.
You have to have some strategy.
Yes.
I'm still gonna go with, if I had to fight them, I'm gonna go with the 100 ducks. 100 duck-sized horses. I mean. Still bigger than them. I saw Gulliver's Travels though. I gotta be careful because overwhelmed with
you don't want them to tie you down,
right? Yeah, I gotta be but they're horses.
Yeah,
like you kick a couple of them, they're gonna flee.
I love it.
They're not that aggressive of a pack attack animal. The duck the horse the size of a duck. The duck the size of a horse. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's real rough.
Yeah, that one scares me. That scares me a lot. All right, well, that is all the questions I got for you. I loved your answers. Thank you very much. Before we finish up, thank you. Do you have any like links or anything you'd like to promote, or anything you got going on that you want to shout out, or anything I can let the people know of before we finish up?
Gotcha. I just hey, please learn more about the Bethlehem Center and what we do. We are a 103-year-old nonprofit organization serving youth and families in the South Chattanooga area. Definitely look us up and follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at The Beth. And go to our website at thebeth.org. Also look at Noir Nougat. Please follow us on Instagram at Noir Nougat. And if you have time and your viewers have time, definitely show up to an event that we're having on June 17th, which is our Juneteenth event, commemorating, the Juneteenth holiday. Mm-hmm. We're having a wonderful event from 1 to 4 at the Bethlehem Center. Mm-hmm. We're having, multiple food trucks, multiple, different community vendors and small Black businesses. It's a lot of great food, a lot of great fun, a lot of, community, as well as we'll have people out there talking about the history of the Juneteenth holiday and explaining exactly what that is. So, yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, I will make sure the link for the Beth is down there, and also links to social medias and stuff is down there. So if you're listening, you want to check that out, I will highly recommend go down to the description, check that out, and see what they got going on. But yeah, with all that out of the way, Reggie, thank you very much again for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And for everybody that's been listening so far, thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. Like I said, if you'd like to check out any of the links or anything mentioned during the show, then feel free to head down to the description, check that out, and those will be down there and ready for you. Thank you, as always, for listening to and supporting the show, and I will catch you all on another episode of the podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the podcast. As one final reminder, if you'd like to support the show, then don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast, or share it with a friend. If you'd like to check out any links that were mentioned during the show, or follow the show or myself on social media, then feel free to head to the description of today's episode to find these links. As always, thank you again for checking out today's episode, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I will catch you all on the next episode of the podcast. See ya!